Hey y'all, it's your friendly neighborhood therapist, and it is February 3rd, 2025. So it is day 3 in our series of lesser known facts and lesser known people of the culture for Black History Month. Now, real quick, let's get into the shirt check. Never apologize for your Black thoughts, Black loyalties, Black motives, Black history, Black pride, or your Black skin. Be strong, be proud, be unapologetically Black. Black and beautiful, honey. Blackety black. Yes, indeed, I would choose being Black 100 times over in every lifetime. Now, that being said, today's person of interest. So, the connection here for me, I try to find different connections as I go along, finding new people and events to talk about. Today's connection happens to be my husband's family, which is my family too, because we don't play that. Those my people, who is from South Carolina. So when I met my husband's grandmother, his father's mother, and she spoke, I was fascinated by her accent, her dialect. And I was like, what is that? Because it feels like something from the motherland, but I know that she was born here in South Carolina. So I don't understand what I'm hearing. Well, come to find out how a lot of her dialect and the way she spoke connected to the Gullah language of coastal South Carolina and Georgia. The person of interest today is strongly connected to the Gullah language. So let's get into it. All right, so this fine specimen of a man, because I'm not going to ignore how fine this man was, this fine specimen of a man is Mr. Lorenzo Dow Turner. Lorenzo Dow Turner was born August 21st, 1890 in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. He was the youngest of four sons of Rooks Turner and Elizabeth Freeman, and his father completed his master's degree at Howard University, although he had not begun first grade until he was 21 years old. His mother gained the education allowed to Black women at the time, 6 years. Two of his brothers earned degrees in medicine and law. Turner's family's strong emphasis on education inspired him and helped him achieve academic success. Did you hear his father didn't even start first grade until he was 21, yet he completed a master's degree? See, that's the type of excellence we be talking about. That's the type of we gonna do what we gotta do and make it as far as we can, regardless of the obstacles set in front of us. Type of excellence Black folks be talking about. Now, anyway, Mr. Turner himself was an African American academic and linguist who did seminal research on the Gullah language of the Low Country of coastal South Carolina and Georgia. His studies included recordings of Gullah speakers in the 1930s. He was the head of the English departments at Howard University and Fisk University for a combined total of nearly 30 years, and he strongly influenced their programs. He created the African Studies curriculum at Fisk, was chair of the African Studies program at Roosevelt University, and in the early 1960s, he co founded a training program for Peace Corps volunteers going to Africa. Now, a little bit more in depth knowledge of his academic career. Turner earned a bachelor's degree from Howard University in 1914 and later a master's degree from Harvard and a PhD in English literature from the University of Chicago. He taught at Howard University from 1917 to 1928, and during his last 8 years, he served as head of the English department. After leaving Howard, he founded the Washington Sun newspaper. He also taught my soror finer woman, Zora Neale Hurston, when she was a student at Howard University. Hurston described him as a major influence on her. From 1929 to 1946, Turner served as head of the English department at Fisk University, where he designed the curriculum for the African Studies program. In 1946, he began teaching at Roosevelt University in Chicago, where he was chairman of the African Studies program. In the early 1960s, he co founded the Peace Corps training program to prepare young volunteers for service in Africa. Turner retired from Roosevelt in 1967, but remained professor emeritus at Roosevelt until his death at age 77 in 1972. His papers are held in the Anacostia Community Museum in Washington, D.C. Now, on to the crux of why I chose Mr. Turner, his Gullah research. So, Mr. Turner is best remembered as the father of Gullah studies. His interest in the Gullah people began in 1929 when he first heard Gullah speakers while teaching a summer class at South Carolina State College, which is now South Carolina State University. Although established scholars then viewed Gullah speech as a form of substandard English, Turner sensed that Gullah was strongly influenced by African languages. He set out to study the language, and for the next 20 years, he made trips to the Gullah region in coastal South Carolina and Georgia, interviewing Gullahs, often in isolated locations, and making detailed notes on their language. He also made recordings in the 1930s of Gullah speakers talking about their culture, folk stories, and other aspects of life. As part of his studies, Turner traveled to several locations in Africa, specifically Sierra Leone, to learn about the development of Creole languages, as well as to Louisiana and Brazil to study Creole and Portuguese, respectively. He did research at University of London School of Oriental and African Studies on various African language systems. He wanted to be able to provide context for the obvious Africanisms he discovered in his Sea Islands research. Such depth and breadth allowed Turner to locate Gullah culture and language within the broader complexities of the African diaspora in the New World, firmly outside the reductionist theoretical model of cultural assimilation. When Turner finally published his classic work, Africanisms in the Gullah Dialect, in 1949, he made an immediate impact on established academic thinking. His studies of the origin, development, and structure of Gullah was so convincing that scholars quickly accepted his thesis that Gullah is strongly influenced by African languages. He showed the continuity of language and culture across the diaspora. Many scholars have followed Turner over the years in researching the African roots of Gullah language and culture. He created a new field of study by his work and an appreciation for a unique element of African American culture. Turner was strongly influenced by the American linguist movement, which he joined at its inception. Through his Gullah research, he gave shape to several academic specialties, including Gullah studies, dialect geography, and Creole linguistics, as well as being an important predecessor to the field of African American studies, which developed in the 1960s and 70s. Turner's pioneering work, which academics credit for introducing African American studies to U.S. curricula, was the subject of Word, Shout, Song, Lorenzo Dow Turner Connecting Communities Through Language at Smithsonian's Anacostia Community Museum in July of 2016. Exhibit curator Acion Amos said the Washington, D.C. Museum acquired many of Turner's original notes, pictures, and recordings from his widow, Lois Turner Williams, in 2003. Turner died of heart failure at Michael Reese Hospital in Chicago, Illinois on February 10, 1972. There is a junior high school in Chicago, the Turner Drew Language Academy, which is dedicated to him. So, y'all, real quick recap. The reason why you have African American Studies courses in college, why you can major in African American Studies, why you can learn about the Gullah language, why AAVE is a thing, African American Vernacular English. The reason why schools, high schools, middle, and elementary schools quite literally teach about African American history can all be attributed to Mr. Lorenzo Dow Turner. All of his research, all of his work was pivotal in showing that our language, our culture, our stories, they are the real deal. They are just as relevant, if not more relevant, than any other cultures. Our language is not just a bunch of slang. It's not just a bunch of euphemisms and terms that don't make sense. No, it is connected back to where you stole us from. I want to make sure I highlight that whenever I can. Our language, the Gullah language, AAVE, and anything else involving us is connected to the motherland where y'all stole us from. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed learning all about Mr. Lorenzo Dow Turner. And please share this, repost it, all those things, because our history is American history. All right, y'all. I look forward to teaching y'all more tomorrow in our series of lesser known facts and lesser known people of the culture for Black History Month. Y'all have a beautiful, wonderful rest of the day.